Hello and welcome to another episode of AI Más, where I is spelled like AI because we're here to talk about AI. I'm taking the jargon out of the conversation and hearing people's stories about how they're using AI to make their lives easier or better or more creative. I'm your host, Andrea Ocarina Perez. Thank you to everybody that's been listening and sending me messages and liking, subscribing, and sending this and sharing it with everybody they know. It really helps. Also, a big thanks to those of you that have supported me on Buy Me a Coffee and joined the membership there. That's super helpful because it lets me pay for the tools that I use to produce this podcast. I also want to say thank you to everybody that leaves me comments or writes any reviews. I read everything that you write to me. I did completely miss a comment that was left to me when in the introduction video that I created. YouTube never even showed it to me, so I was just looking at all of the comments that have been left and I found it there, so I'm going to read it to you and I will respond to it as well. So it is from Andrea Satador 9976 and they wrote, "Why only quote unquote diverse folks, ? Clown emoji, unwoke yourself." Okay, so Andrea Satador 9976, there are plenty of podcasts out there that are focusing on other people that are talking about AI, and we only tend to see one major demographic talking about AI, and I just want to focus on every other demographic. So if that upsets you, that's fine. You can move on and you don't have to be here. But thank you for leaving me a comment. I'm sorry, I'm only just seeing it now, and I will continue to do what I am doing. Everyone else, I really appreciate everything you've written to me. I know everyone else is really excited about the community that I'm building here. So let's move on to talk about today's guest. Today's guest is really amazing. She's just like all the guests that we've had in the sense that she is involved in so many different projects, doing so many different things in different fields, and it is really interesting to talk to. She is currently a psychology student and using AI in her research, as well as a product manager and using AI in that as well. So please welcome today's guest, Stephany Oliveros. Hello there. How are you? Can I have you say your full name and pronouns, please?
Sure. Thanks, Andrea. My name is Stephany Oliveros, and I am a she, her.
Okay, thank you. So you, like most of my guests that I've had on that are using AI, are a very busy person and you have many projects going on. And when I read your profile, I was like, oh my God, she has so many things. So like I've seen that you studied medical physics, but you also are currently a psychology student and you have certificates and degrees in AI for healthcare and AI and medical robots. So there's so many interesting things that you've studied. But on top of that, you also are a project manager and you have your own different projects going on. So I would love for you to tell us who you are, how you got here, what you've been studying, what you've been working on.
Sure. First of all, thank you, Andrea. It's a pleasure to meet you and also to speak to your audience. To me, it's been a rough path because I was super clear what I wanted to be in life. I wanted to be a vet, actually.
Okay.
So everything started with that impulsion. But then the university where I was going to apply was like not ready to take on new students. So then I decided to go to the science field. So I started medical physics. It's called in some countries until I was able to finally change to veterinary. But then, yeah, things in life, I have to move. I was living in Venezuela, so I came to Spain and I was starting again from zero. I had to decide a new path and a new thing to do.
Right.
Like many other people that also have the same issues when you're an immigrant.
Mm-hmm.
So then I discovered psychology, and it started to call me a lot about how people, how can we understand what's going on nowadays with mental health issues and technology. So I started to lean towards that. So I studied
Hmm.
psychology in Spain and also in England. So then I changed universities to England. And then I just found a fascinating new career that I've never imagined myself, like starting from veterinary to now thinking about AI and how can we shape
Hmm.
society is very exciting. I understand that it can be scary a little bit, but I think everything really and truly happens for a reason, and we don't know where life's gonna take us.
Right.
So yeah, that's what I've been doing lately, and at the same time, like managing multiple projects so I can learn from them. Perhaps in the future, develop something. Well, we're actually currently working on the pretty cool products that we would like to release that can really help people later.
That's so cool. Okay, so you said you have several projects going on.
Yeah,
Can you tell us about your projects? Maybe one of them, two of them, all of them, however many you have going
sure.
on, whichever ones you want to talk about. And also, if AI is a part of them, how are you
Yeah.
using AI?
Absolutely. So I was looking for a job and I couldn't find anything. I'm sure that many people can identify with this, like
Hmm.
desperation of, but why? What's wrong? And it's so uncomfortable, being judged during the interviews and all of this process. And so I was kind of down at the moment. And then
Yeah,
I
of course.
finally found like this comment, not even a post, a comment on a Facebook. I never go to Facebook. I saw the
Hmm.
comment. It was this woman saying like, hey, I'm a wedding planner. I need a partner to continue this project. So she wanted to open this company that's called Somewhere Crazy. So she organizes elopements, which are
Oh
not
my
traditional
God.
weddings, just like
Yeah.
runaway weddings with no guests,
Mhm.
in really crazy places. So like the top of the mountains in the Swiss Alps, for example.
Uh-huh.
And I said like, well, yeah, why not? Let's go for it.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, so I started to doing a little bit of like project management and finding a way of getting more people mad with that, and then it transcended to more growing more the company. We had tons of new requests. It's been a completely success the company, and then now I'm more in like the product development stages, so focusing on marketing, focusing on how can we build a better product and offer really different experiences. And
Hmm.
about your question, how we use AI to do this. So traditionally, wedding planners will use their like inspirational books, some photos to gather
Hmm.
some inspiration. Elopement planners, there are not so many, but they would use agendas or like post-its, like really, really old methods. This is a generalization. I'm sure that there are many people that are, like
Using
going
technology.
into exactly. But yeah, so what we started to believe is that automatization would be the solution to deliver a better product, a better experience with
Hmm.
less of an effort. So the planner can focus on connecting with a couple and really caring about and nurturing that relationship rather than
Right.
traditional tasks. So we started to implement AI, so models for task organization. So we use things like Monday and ClickUp tools. Then we did some like little prompt engineering to build all our marketing campaigns. Then we've created
Wow.
different templates using AI for all our customers' communication before they become our customers. So more like lead, outreach, and communication. Then for partnerships, we'll do the same. So we'll sort different type of partnerships and business ideas. So we've kind of unlocked a new world of how to use AI in a way that we can focus on the creative part of the experience.
Yeah. Oh my God, I love that because that's really like when I started to like read about AI, that's what I wanted. I was like, I was started imagining a world where we can automate so much and then focus on like the human side of
Exactly.
everything.
Exactly.
And
And
elopement is so much fun.
I know it's actually a pretty fun job. Like I've truly never imagined doing this. But it's beautiful. And I just had this conversation yesterday with another project that I'm gonna tell you later that I'm on.
Okay.
So this man is a consultant in AI and is a pretty respectable person in the sector. And he was saying like, but what if, like the pyramid of Maslow of necessities?
So I asked ChatGPT to explain to me what the Pyramid of Maslow was, because I've heard of it, but I can't always recall what it was, and I've really only heard about it for the first time this year, at least that I can remember. I'm sorry if my psychology teacher is watching this and is like, I taught you that many years ago. So anyway, what ChatGPT said about the Pyramid of Maslow. So I want you to imagine a pyramid like food pyramid, right? So at the bottom you have the biggest base, and then it gets smaller and smaller as you get to the top, and in the top you have the smallest amount of something, right? So what the Pyramid of Maslow says is that it is the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So it is a psychological theory proposed by Abraham Maslow in 1943. It's a way of understanding human motivation and needs. The hierarchy is typically depicted as a pyramid with 5 levels, from the base to the top. At the base of the pyramid are the most fundamental needs, such as food, water, shelter, and basic physical requirements for survival. On top of that are safety needs, including personal security, financial stability, health, and safety from harm. The next level relates to social needs, such as friendship, family, and a sense of belonging to a community or a group. Okay? So we have our psychological needs, our safety needs, love and belongingness. On top of that one are esteem needs, which encompass self-esteem, confidence, respect from others, and the desire for achievement and recognition. And then at the very top of the pyramid is self-actualization, representing the desire for personal growth, self-fulfillment, and realizing one's full potential. Maslow's theory suggests that individuals strive to satisfy these needs in a hierarchical order, with lower level needs taking precedent over higher level needs. Once a lower level need is reasonably satisfied, a person tends to focus on meeting higher level needs. It is important to note that while Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a widely recognized theory, it has also been critiqued and revised over time by other psychologists. It provides a basic framework for understanding human motivation, but it may not fully capture the complexities of individual behavior and needs, which makes sense. It's psychology. We can have a framework, but every individual is different. Now we're going to hear what Stephany thinks AI can do for us when we're thinking about it through this lens.
So what if we can just focus starting from self-actualization rather than that being the goal? Because all of the other needs are already covered, because machines, because of robots, because of AI will help us to reach that level. And I know it can be scary and maybe a little bit utopic, but still it is a way you shape dreams and change reality.
Right. I think people have been afraid to dream for a long time because our society is so intense and it's so built on hustle, hustle, hustle just to survive, just to like be able to pay to have a roof over your head, to be able to pay to have food on your table. Like it's so intense that it's hard to pause and dream of what could be.
Exactly.
So
Yeah,
I love
absolutely.
hearing these.
Yeah, it's very inspiring. And it's true that there are some other concerns that maybe we can discover later in our conversation and talk
For
about
sure.
it. But as long as you keep the moral compass in your ship, you still have a whole universe to discover.
Right.
And that's just as a way of seeing it. You can just ignore the fact that these things exist and can evolve into something good. Or you can build these systems in a way that we humans can really change the way we do things in our societies, because it's not working what we're doing.
Right.
So we need to find other solutions.
I agree. I fully agree. Okay, so then you said you have other projects to tell me about. Can you tell me the next one?
Of course. So I'm very excited about the idea of specializing in more in AI. So I want to probably study it more. The issue is that it's something so it's not so new. It's new for people now, like common people like me, to understand these language models that they've been with us. They've been. We're talking about the. If we talk about the history of AI, we can go back 50 years ago. So it's
Hmm.
nothing actually new, but it's something that it's open up more now because of these
Right,
language models, because it's accessible to people.
right.
The issue is that we don't know the ethics about it. So we don't know how to regulate it, and we don't know how is it going to be for the as an impact for our societies, and how is that going to shape humanity, or even how it can impact our mental health. Because
Mm-hmm.
of that, yeah, like lack of knowledge, or yeah, the gap in the research.
Mm-hmm.
There are not many yet. Maybe in a couple of years, but yet there are not many colleges or institutions that are is really researching this in depth.
Mm-hmm.
They teach you how to develop this, so how to program, how to build these models, but not really what are the consequences of it, and how can you create a more humane technology. So focus on us, and that can be walking the same pace than our evolution. So I wanted to start to focus more on that, and finding other studies linking to people that can where I can who I can learn from.
Mm-hmm.
And then I found this a person that I was talking before, the AR consultant.
So I asked ChatGPT to explain to me what AR is. AR is a technology that blends computer generated elements such as images, sounds, or information with the real world. It enhances your perception of reality by overlaying digital content onto what you're seeing through a device like a smartphone or AR glasses. So, for example, if y'all remember the Pokemon Go craze from like 2016, where you would point your phone in a certain direction and you would find that Pokemon, and that was augmented reality. So, the environment looked like what you're seeing with your eyes, but then when you point your phone, you see a Pokemon that is on your phone but not really there. So that is augmented reality. And I asked it to compare it to VR, which is virtual reality. And virtual reality is a technology that immerses you entirely into a computer generated simulated environment where you wear VR headsets and you're transported to a different world, completely detached from your physical surroundings. And then you can interact with this virtual environment as if you're physically present in it. So the comparison there is that AR adds digital components to the real world, whereas VR, your interaction is primarily with the digital world only. Mm-hmm.
And then decided to join him in building a new large language model that's going to be
Whoa.
focused on psychotherapy.
Okay.
So this is interesting because the issue with ChatGPT is it's if you ask him things, well, him, it,
Yeah.
if you actually ask things to it, it can deliver biased information, which they
Mm-hmm.
tell you directly it's going to happen, or if it
Mm-hmm.
this machine doesn't know the correct response, then they are going to send you probably like a wrong question, like a wrong answer. So
Right.
it makes mistakes. So the idea of this project is to develop a way of creating a new model. So it's not powered by OpenAI or any sort. It's an independent
Okay.
company that can give access to people about psychotherapy and psychology resources without
Mm-hmm.
substituting the role of the psychologist. So what we'll do is to train the model to understand different insights of layers of people. For example, your how would your intuition talk, or how your inner child will talk to you, how your older wiser version of yourself will talk to you in moments of trouble. So it can
Wow.
reflectiveness.
Okay.
And so yeah, the idea would be to encourage people to reflect in their own thoughts and to create a space for introspection rather than go into external source of things, different sources of hedonistic rewards such as like Instagram and Netflix to kind of shut down your emotions.
Right.
So yeah, that's what that's the idea.
I'm laughing because like I will find myself like if I'm like in a high like anxiety state, like I'll like go to Instagram just to like I call
Oh
it
yeah.
deleting my brain. I just
Oh
delete
yeah.
my brain.
Yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
so
Exactly.
yeah. Oh, it's so bad.
Exactly.
And okay, so you said that you're not using OpenAI's like source to, or you're not sourcing from OpenAI. How are you training this model then?
So we are gathering information from different professionals, so empiric information that's already checked with
Okay.
professionals in the area to make sure that the model understands what's the reliable sources, and the feedback
Okay.
will be made with or from these same professionals rather from the users, so to try to avoid the bias. And it's still on the way, still developing. Is
Mm-hmm.
at the moment just a very simple idea, and I need to they need to fill me in a little bit more about how can we start to develop this. But I think if we like find the time and the resources, could be something incredible to make accessible these tools and that
Absolutely.
knowledge to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds amazing. Okay, and then do you have another project?
At the moment, I think that's enough.
Okay. No, that's fine. I just wasn't sure
Apart,
because.
apart from what I'm studying, yeah,
Hmm.
I think I need to focus on those things right now mainly. But always open to new things. Why not?
Yeah, I think when we had spoken before, you had mentioned something about using it to make like a more accurate VR environment. Is that something that you were learning on before? Is this something similar?
Yeah, this is something interesting that I was researching for my university. So there
Hmm.
is this bias that's very normal. So maybe a neuroscientist can explain it in more in depth, but it's when it's called, well, basically I'm gonna explain it because it doesn't matter how it's called. It's like a change blindness. So it's when you cannot find the keys of your car, and then you want to
Okay.
leave your flat and you're looking everywhere and you
Uh-huh,
cannot find the
uh-huh.
keys, but the keys were always just on the table where it's just supposed to
Hmm.
be.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
this time the table had, I don't know, a little issue or a plate or something else that helped, like, provoke that your brain dissociated from the idea that you regularly leave your keys there. So, or what happened when you hear birds in the park, and then you look up to the trees and you cannot find the bird. The bird is
Hmm.
there, you can listen to it, but you cannot see it. And
Hmm.
after a long time, you can finally spot it. But why? So what happened? And then there is a direct link with our perception, the way of we perceive reality, and our
Hmm.
limited capacity of attention and process of information.
Hmm.
So yeah, we are overload. We're overloaded by the branches, by the noise, by the thought of the colors, and then lastly, we can check the bird or we can check the keys. So using that knowledge that we know, what we know about psychology and how attention can be limited, then we
Hmm.
raise new questions about virtual reality or augmented reality. So how is it going to be when we have holograms popping from the floor to as marketing
Right.
techniques? So how are you going to distinguish what's fake from what's reality, or how can you, what are the dangers involved? So how can
Hmm.
you not be distracted because of that and then continue with your daily life without falling on the street? So yeah, so I think this is something that it's, yeah, I think after months of research, I just found probably like two papers that presented that issue. So that's also something very new that we should start to focusing on, to understanding what's gonna become of reality, because reality is just, imagine that you have, your brain is in a black box. And this
Mm-hmm.
black box, it's separating your brain from everything around you. And so your brain only processes what your senses telling him to process. And then it
Mm-hmm.
create a picture in base of those experiences. So yeah, so what will happen with when virtual reality is so good quality that can transmit all those sensations to
Mm-hmm.
what's going to be reality?
Mm-hmm.
That's an ethical
Okay,
question
yeah.
there.
Yeah, so but I mean I love to know, like I love knowing that like people like you are out there asking these questions and then being like we need to study this and we need to tackle this before it becomes an issue. So that's really fantastic. I also love like your psychology brain and like how you think about it through psychology. You think about everything that you're touching through psychology. So that's really lovely.
Thank you.
Um, okay, so I want to ask you, because you have all these projects going on and you are using AI in them, do you feel like AI has made your life easier?
Absolutely. 100%. I call it like my personal assistant. So
Hmm.
everything I need to be like done automatically, it helps a lot. I think personally it would be about finding the time to focus on my passion projects and to have my brain to focus on the important things, so the creative part, the ideation, the finding opportunities, the
Hmm.
solving problems, because if not we are just losing time with not only the repetitive tasks, but even, I don't know, maybe some people can identify with this, like you need to write something and then you stare to this blank page for
Yeah.
hours or even days, and it's like, well, where should I start? And then you just
Hmm.
need a gasp of inspiration or a place to reshape your thoughts. I think that's part of the creative process. We build our creativity is built and developed through others' ideas. So if you have these technologies, or in my case, I have these technologies help me to start with this creative impulse, then I can really unravel parts of me that I wasn't aware I could. So it's
Yeah.
really helping me with my own potential and time management.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I can relate to that as well. So Stephanie got really excited about this question and started talking about the potential of AI and like what we could use it for and what we should focus on. And so I wanted to refocus a little bit more on like how it specifically helped her. So there is a little jump here.
Although I believe in its potential to go further than that. So right now, it's a very practical assistant to write emails and to answer DMs on Instagram or to help you
Hmm.
build a strategy or editing videos. Although we're talking about a technology that can potentially develop to really help us solve issues, real issues that are endangering our society. So I read this book that I totally recommend, that's called What We Owe the Future. And
Okay.
it's written by a philosopher from Oxford University, and he expresses this belief on futurism. So he said, like, well, we can think that we are all doomed and that in 10 years or so, climate change is going to destroy us all, if not nuclear weapons or
Hmm.
yeah, AI, or we can build new technologies and new tools and understand each other
And
and
new
regulate
systems.
exactly new systems to really shape the future, not just the future of our planet. We're talking about billions of generations to come and probably types of civilizations that we cannot even start to comprehend or imagine.
Hmm.
So we are really in this key moment in where we can choose the path to where to go. So can we still support fossil fuel industry, or should we find other solutions that can shape what we are doing now? And so it goes, we understand that right now there are a lot of social issues, there are a lot of things that it needs to be done. So again, the pyramid of needs that need to be complemented so people can develop, for sure. Although I think there are some, of this author also believes that there are some immediate necessities that we need to tackle and that no many people's talking about. And it's how can we build these technologies and these systems in a humane way towards the evolution and towards what's to come. So rather than spending our time in debating these identity politics, I guess we can start focusing on our energies in everybody contributing with their own skills to shape this future. And then maybe these societal issues will completely change.
Yeah. Yeah. So just like I mentioned before, we had jumped around a little bit, but I wanted to make sure that we heard what Stephany had to say about the potential of AI. But because we had jumped around and I had refocused on her, I didn't actually give my thoughts about everything that she said. And I completely resonate with what she says here. And I really wanted to share my thoughts with you all on what I've already been thinking about this. And I'm actually going to read you a post that I wrote a few months ago on this topic. So I wrote this post on LinkedIn, and this is what I said. The impossible thing I choose to believe in today is a world where we finally have the tools to not live to work. It will take a huge shift in perspective, but hear me out. I, like a lot of folks, didn't pay much attention to the first conversations around OpenAI's developments, and here we are now, in less than a half a year, it's become something most of us can't ignore. People are losing their jobs, AI is creating art, commercials, curriculums, content, and so much more. As employers start integrating AI into their workflow, they now have a workforce that can learn all the things, work at all hours, and don't need to be paid. The way the world is set up right now, that sounds terrifying. But this is where I need y'all to follow me into Wonderland and let yourself dream of what could be. What AI means right now is that productivity will only continue to skyrocket and make fewer and fewer people a lot of money. So let's imagine a world where these resources, aka money, are evenly spread out into a universal income. I know, a lot would have to change, but keep reading. What do all animals need to survive? Shelter, food, water, and oxygen? Right now, we have to pay for all of those things except for oxygen. That's wild, right? And not wild in a good way, like we're living like animals on the planet for free. What would you be doing with your time if you didn't need to pay for those things? People love to argue. People are lazy and will do nothing. These are the same people that are too afraid to imagine, and it's not their fault. The world has tried its best to program us all like that. We're too tired to imagine because we're overworked. We're also too afraid because we have to save and invest for retirement so we don't die of poverty when we're too old to work. So imagine a world where you could pursue any interest you might have. Imagine the art that would be brought into the world, the jaw-dropping athleticism that would emerge, all the brains that would be able to focus on fixing our climate, the revamping of the agricultural sector with those of us that have dreamed of living off the land, the books that would be written. Imagine all of that. Don't let this new tool scare you, because that's all it is, a tool. Do, however, be prepared to hold your governments accountable for how this tool is used. All right, so then for the final questions I always ask, first one is, what are your concerns about the future of AI?
Right. So I'm concerned about who is going to be involved in these projects. So we know this technology can be biased and can be influenced by the people that built it. So I think like I'm not sure what's the solution. We're going to deep into a philosophical question, but it's true that I'm concerned that these technologies can lead to more issues that we have right now. For example, I was studying dreams in psychology, so how to interpret the dreams and how we dreams, how we produce the images in our brain that are so real. And then I come across to this study where they started to gather fMRI imaging and translate it to real images. So basically, they could know what people was thinking of.
Yeah, I've seen
So,
that.
so, I mean, not even your thoughts are private now, not your
Yeah,
dreams.
yeah, I saw
So
that.
if you ask me about concerns, I'm concerned about data protection. I'm concerned about privacy. I'm concerned about how this information is going to be used. Because I would love to watch a movie of my dreams in real life, but I'm not sure if I want to share it with other people.
Yeah.
So I think there is a huge need for ethical AI, for people that can really understand how fast are we going in technology and how fast are we ready to take on that. And if you go to small villages in Spain, you mentioned that you're in Spain, and you ask these old people about Instagram, it's too much for them. It's just a social media
Yeah.
network. What's going to happen when you start, thinking, explaining these people that, we can now read your thoughts? It's like,
Yeah. Yeah. You definitely start creating a larger gap between, like, a gap in knowledge, and with that, a gap in like economic stability for people.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, it's definitely, I've seen that study. I know those studies. I've seen the results of them and
Yeah,
how clear a picture can come up from
absolutely.
someone's thoughts, yeah, and
Yeah.
dreams. So that's definitely, I just keep thinking like, well, they would need to stick me into like a machine to get my thoughts. So I'll just
Yeah.
avoid those machines. But at what, like, I guess at what
No,
point, like, can we stop
for
them before they
Wi-Fi.
start making, yeah, the
Yeah.
machines smaller or like
Yeah.
whatever? So
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely a dystopian thought, but
Yeah.
okay, so I know this sounds terrifying. So I want to explain this to you so that you understand what exactly these scientists are doing and why they are doing this research. Okay, so this is what I found. There are ongoing studies and research in the field of neuroimaging and artificial intelligence that aim to decode and visualize elements of human thoughts and perceptions. These studies typically involve enhanced brain imaging techniques like functional magnetic resonance imaging, fMRI, and machine learning algorithms to analyze and interpret brain activity patterns. So again, an fMRI is a very big machine that you have to be placed into. You can't move or anything so that they can see your brain patterns. However, it's important to note that this field is highly complex and rapidly evolving. The ability to read someone's thoughts or show images of what they are thinking is a challenging task and remains a subject of ongoing research and debate. Researchers have made progress in certain areas, such as reconstructing basic visual stimuli a person is looking at, but is still a long way from reading complex thoughts or emotions accurately. Okay, so why are people researching this? Research into decoding and visualizing thoughts using AI and neuroimaging techniques has several potential motivations and practical applications. Understanding the brain. It helps scientists and researchers gain a deeper understanding of how the brain works. By deciphering brain activity associated with thoughts and perceptions, we can learn more about the underlying neural processes, which can have implications for various fields such as neuroscience and psychology. So the more that we can see how our neural pathways work, the more accurate our knowledge of the brain is. So the medical applications. This research can lead to advancements in medical fields. For example, it can aid in developing treatments for neurological disorders or improving brain-computer interfaces, BCIs, to assist individuals with disabilities. So I did watch a video last week where somebody that had lost the ability to move their whole body except for their eyes was implanted with one of these brain-computer interfaces, and then she was able to actually have a conversation because before she couldn't. So she was able to think what she wanted to say, and then through an avatar was able to say this. And I was reading the comments, and people were like, oh, this is such a terrible experiment. There's no way to know that this is what she wants to say. This is just like, this isn't real. Like, that's not what she wants to say. And we are actually at the point where we understand the brain so well that we can connect to someone's brain and their thoughts can become words through the help of a computer. So this helps with communication. So brain-computer interfaces, BCIs, that decode thoughts offer a means of communication for individuals with severe motor disabilities who can't communicate through traditional methods. This also helps with neurofeedback. Understanding one's own thought patterns can be valuable for mental health and self-regulation. Neurofeedback techniques, which use brain activity data, can help individuals manage stress, anxiety, or attention-related issues. It can also help with cognitive enhancement. There's potential for using these technologies to enhance cognitive abilities or memory through targeted stimulation or training. We do have to think about the ethical and privacy considerations. So as this technology advances, there are ethical considerations regarding privacy and consent. Research in this area can help establish guidelines and safeguards. So that's why it's important to have people like Stephany who are studying psychology and are also in the technical field and that care about people and want to make sure that we're thinking about what the implications of all this research is and what it means, and they're not just doing these things for the fun of it and not thinking about the consequences. And lastly, for scientific exploration, exploring the boundaries of what we can achieve with technology in the human mind is a fundamental aspect of scientific inquiry. So while there are promising applications, there are also ethical and privacy concerns associated with this research. Balancing the potential benefits with the ethical considerations is an important part of ongoing discussions in the field. Very fascinating things. If there are any neuroscientists out there that are using AI and using these BCIs, please reach out to me. I would love to interview you because this is very fascinating.
Yeah, it feels like we are entering this sci-fi realm that it was sci-fi a few years ago, and now it isn't. It's happening. And I know that's scary, but I feel optimistic also about it because I also see the opportunities. So I think we need a balanced speech. So we need to be aware of the power and potential of these new technologies, but also about the possible issues that can emerge. And until we're not sure about the consequences that's going to have for our society or our mental health, I think we should slow down a little. That would be my main thought.
And also making sure that there's representation involved in the people that are building these things.
Oh, absolutely. It's like most of the studies in psychology, for example, they were made from Western societies for Western societies, and mainly white men involved in the studies. So how can we generalize all those results and understand human psyche just by looking at some literature from 70 years ago made for these really small people? Like, they are the minority when you think about like the global context. So in the same way, it's like we cannot even start to understand how that's going to impact all different societies. So if we don't know that, maybe it makes sense to have like an accurate representation or equal, so some sort of distribution where it can be more balanced out, and absolutely.
Okay, so let's get to a more positive ending. And what are your hopes for the future of AI?
I think AI can truly help us understand how can we grow as a society. So how can we solve issues that we're having right now? So we're talking not only about diagnosis in medicine, but also about really powerful solutions We're talking about people that can go back from blindness, that can start to
Mm.
walk again. And we're talking about definite cures for degenerative diseases. So we are talking about really entering a new era for humanity in terms of physical health, mental health, education. Oh my God, education. We really need
Yeah,
more love in that.
yeah.
Yeah, so like renewal energy, even creativity. I think it's just a matter of learning how to work with it rather than leaving it to do all the work for us.
Mm.
So it's just, I think they can help us to build other type of technologies that really, really help us to enter this new era where we can hopefully start from self-actualization.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that. And definitely we need all the help we can get in the field of education. And people are really afraid of it and like how AI will affect how students learn. But honestly, I'm just excited about the tools that the teachers are going to be able to have
I
in their
know,
hands.
I know. It's like, but honestly, what are they worried about? It's like, oh, because the students are using it to write essays. But honestly, before
That's so
they were
antiquated.
exactly, it's like, oh, you are evaluating the intelligence of a human being by an essay. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I don't think that's the way.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. I 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Stephany, if people want to reach out to you and get a hold of you, how can they find you?
Sure. So I think LinkedIn it's the best way to contact, and we can, discuss other projects. I'm very keen on learning from other people. I believe that
Mm-hmm.
everybody can learn from each other because
Mm-hmm.
everybody has their own like skills. So I'll be happy, to contact and share more info about what I do with you through LinkedIn. Yeah, happy to meet everybody.
That's so great. Thank you, Stephany.
Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the AI Más Podcast. I really appreciate your support and I appreciate you being here. Thank you again to everyone that likes, subscribes, and leaves me comments and shares this with everyone they know. It's really helpful. I'm going to continue making these. I might be doing a little different setup from now on, but I will be continuing to do this. So again, thank you for your support. Thank you for those that support me on Buy Me a Coffee and that are in the Discord community. I'm also going to take more time to commit to that community as well. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you again. Until next time, bye.